Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to my channel. I am Lady Calamere, and I'm sure glad you are here. I am doing my 144th YouTube presentation. It will be on the spirit of the ocean, Sedna, as some people call a goddess. Sedna is a mighty spirit, a very powerful spirit that the Inuit people rely on. Now, Inuit means the people. They were once called a derogatory name, Eskimo, and that was an Algonquin word meaning eater of eater of raw flesh. And Inuit means the people. And I got a little troublemaker here. Please don't destroy my stuff. Joker, come here, baby. So as you see, I have a mermaid, and she was later visualized as a mermaid, but she wasn't always seen as a mermaid until later on, at least from my research, as I come up with my research. Before I go on, I would like to give a shout out to the Prince of Darkness himself, Ozzy Osbourne. Happy birthday to you. His birthday is on December 3rd, and he is 74 years old. Thank you for all the music, and thank you and Black Sabbath for creating metal music. Thank you very much, and happy birthday. So let's get on to this. Sedna, I believe her name means Lady of the Sea. And she didn't always start out as this. In fact, she was a human woman. She was the daughter of a man named, and he was a widower, Arna Kuagsak. And she was very beautiful. Her father wanted her to marry because he wanted someone to continue on with the hunting, and he was getting impatient because all the men that came to her, all the would-be suitors she turned down. They weren't good enough for her. She just wasn't interested. She was not interested at all, and that kind of got her father upset. I mean, she wanted to do what she wanted to do, hang out with her favorite friend, which was her dog, and is one of her spirit animals, and still stays with her to this day. So along one day, this stranger that was he was hooded, and he comes from a distant land, and he comes to seeking Sedna's hand. And he told her about his wonderful palace-like home, about how rich he is, about how many comforts he has, and how he would take care of her, how he would love her, and about how, the beautiful furs and skins she will have, and the clothing, and a beautiful life of luxury He told her so many nice things, wonderful things, lovely things, in which she agreed to marry him. I mean, after all, he's out of all the suitors that came, he seemed to be a great catch. Someone you shouldn't pass up. So, of course, it made her father happy. So she took her dog and went along with him. Well, some there's different versions of the story. Some say the dog stayed at home with the father and that later on came with the father to visit Sedna. But anyways, she goes along with him and she was pretty much duped, tricked. He wasn't a man at all. In fact, he was a bird spirit. And on top of that, everything he said was a complete lie. He tricked her. And usually this bird spirit could sound like a seagull. There are a few people that said it's a raven, but not from the descriptions of it. And her palace, so-called palace, was a nest, a stinking nest with rotted fish flesh and skins. And there were so many holes in the nest that it didn't keep her warm. It didn't keep the cold air out. And sometimes the water got in. On top of that, she was treated as a slave, a piece of property. And he abused her. So she was pretty much stuck there with the rest of the bird spirits. So eventually her father came by. And Sedna showed him everything. And he saw how sad she really was. And her father agreed that she should come back with him. So, depending on the story, because it will depend on the region, is that he killed her husband. But another version was that her husband was out hunting and she left with her father. So, what happens next is that these bird spirits found out. Some say it was her husband was already dead, or some say that her husband was there with the rest of the spirits, the birds, and start flapping their wings. And the bird spirit that I was thinking about was called a fulmar, Fulmar. Sorry. And you gotta please bear with me. I do not have notes. I do not have a script. This is all coming from what I know and from memory. So they start flapping her wings and making a terrible, terrible wind and a terrible, terrible storm. And the boat was going back and forth. It was just a little boat. It wasn't a big ship. It was going back and forth. Her father, well, her father did the unthinkable. Usually, a parent will walk through fire for their child, will put their life on the line for their child, would die for their child, but not Orna Kuwasak. He pushed her over. He let the Fulmars have her, pushed her over into the cold, cold water. And we're talking about Arctic cold. Do you understand that the Inuits were in Alaska, parts of Canada and Greenland, so it's very cold. So she clung onto the boat for dear life. Father, Father, why? Please help me. And he told her to go, but she wouldn't. She held on to the boat with a death grip, and he took out his hunting knife. Oh, yes, he did. And started cutting off her fingers, one by one by one. And in some stories, she even still held on with her hands, and he cut off her hands. Some stories, it's just her fingers. Other stories, it's her hands. And then pushed her. And she sank deep into the ocean, betrayed, hurt by everyone she trusted. And her dog jumped off the boat and went into the deeps with her. But that was not at the end of her story. She turned into a very powerful spirit. A very powerful, some people call goddess. And which from her appendages came the mammals of the sea, the whales, the narwhals. And other mammals. Other marine animals. Like the seals. And not only that, she controlled the hunt. Because she became this great power. Oh, baby, you coughed. She became this great power that people now rely on her. However, she became depressed, angry, and she can actually make great waves and storms as well. She can withhold all the life, the fish and the mammals, from the people, or she can give the blessings of letting people have their hunt. Now, in some other stories, she was an orphan, and as an orphan, she was abused, beat up, mistreated, and then after she was beat up and abused, she was taken to the water and drowned. And of course, her fingers and appendages were cut off. How cruel. So, unfortunately, because she has no hands like this statue, she has no hands, her hair gets into knots and tangles. And the animals, the dolphins, the whales, the narwhals, get stuck in her hair like a net and get trapped. And all the fish get trapped. And when the hunters go out and the fishermen go out to get, and the hunters go to get fish, go to get the necessary meat to keep the tribe, the people going, well, there's nothing. Some say she does it deliberately, sometimes by accident. And it becomes very, very hard for the people. So the shaman, which is called the Angekok, Angekkok, the Angekok, who has great spiritual powers, goes into a shamanic trance. He has to go into a shamanic trance, into a meditation, to go into the deep, 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 and go past this wheel, an icy wheel that keeps turning, and a cauldron that has boiling seals in it. Then, of course, he has to get past different ghosts and spirits. And then, of course, he has to get past her dog. And he goes into a place called Adlivun. 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 Which is an afterlife, the underworld, that is located beneath the land of the sea. And he has to soothe her. He has to undo the knots, the painful knots in her hair. He has to comb her hair for her till the knots are gone. Massage her scalp, her aching scalp, because you ever have your hair up in a bun? Have you ever seen animals with matted hair, and how that matted hair causes irritation to the skin? That's why you want to brush your dog's hair, or especially like a cat with medium or long hair, you want to comb and brush so it doesn't get mats, and those mats create irritation, and from irritation becomes infection, and which can be very bad for an animal. So when you think about a human, imagine all those knots, and you can't brush it out. Well, he brushes it out, and then he takes her aching limbs and he massages it, and he sings to her, and he soothes her, and he tells them what's going on. The people are suffering. And you gotta understand, she is what some people call a dark goddess, not to be considered evil, a dark goddess. She has anger. Sometimes she's just so angry and sad and depressed, and how she was mistreated, how she was abused, how she was neglected, how she was killed, how she was just tortured in her life, especially by her husband, who is supposed to love her. So she agrees. Once he soothes her, he comes back to his tribe, and she agrees to let the animals come and let them be hunted so that the tribe may live. Now you gotta understand, she gets angry when her animals are abused, overfishing, pollution, mistreated, ignored, or if she's just not happy with the offerings. And it said when they hunt, they're supposed to give the liver and throw it back into the sea. Not only that, they have to thank the spirit of the animal, because the animal can, after death, can become angry, and this angry spirit can cause problems. So of course, being that the animal was very important, it wasn't considered less than how some people treat animals as literal pieces of things to be owned, property and garbage. They were to be respected for the sacrifice and the life they provided for others, and they were to be honored and not to be overfished, and not just to have fished for, the way some people just hunt for just a lobster tail and the rest thrown in to the sea, or that just sharks hunt even worse, their fins cut off and thrown into the ocean alive where they can't move, and since the shark can't move, the shark drowns. The shark has to keep moving or it drowns. The shark it's just horrible things, and all the plastic and all the garbage and all the toxic waste dumped into the oceans. Well, gee, why wouldn't Sedna be angry? Think she's happy about that? You think any spirit of the sea and water is happy about that? I mean, I don't live in the sea and I don't work in the sea, and I'm not happy about that. When you hear that some garbage islands are so big you can see it from space, that they're now finding plastic in fish that we hunt, little microplastics inside canned tuna, mercury in the fish, nuclear waste in the water. That doesn't make me happy. Well, of course Sedna's angry. Sedna's planetary power, I would say two: Neptune as well as Pluto. And we can also associate the heavenly body, the new planet, dwarf planet Sedna, with her. I mean, it's named after her. Actually, it would be three. I gotta learn how to count. And her astrological sign is Pisces. If you know anything about Pisces, you know how Pisces can be smooth sailing and all of a sudden then real like tsunamis, and very emotional. They get very sad at times, very angry, very gloomy. I'm a Pisces. Not a Pisces, but I'm a Pisces rising. My ascending sign is Pisces. So I have like near-death experiences. Again, dealing with that power. So let me show you the cards. I want to give credit where credit is due. I should have done it earlier. This card, Sedna, comes again dealing with abandonment, because that's what she deals with. From the Dark Goddess Oracle cards by Barbara Meikle-Johnfrey and Flavia Kate Peters, designed by Kate Osborne. Boy, are you really going to try to kick me off the couch? I mean, this couch is so big you don't have to kick me off. And this other card, dealing with victim, which that's what she deals with. And you see like even the whales and different sea creatures coming from her cut off fingers. This is the Goddess Oracle by Amy Sophia Marashinsky and illustrated by Harana Janto. So, people who have been tricked and lied to, or been in an abusive relationship or marriage, can definitely relate to her. Those who have been abused by their parent, betrayed, or beaten and tormented as a child by not only by other children but by the adults that were supposed to protect them, regardless if these adults were teachers, camp counselors, physicians, people who work for CPS, maybe a next door neighbor. Adults are not supposed to abuse children. Adults are supposed to either keep their damn fingers off someone else's kid, or they're supposed to protect them. No one has a right. No one has a right to abuse a child. No one has a right to beat up a child. No one has a right to sexually assault any child. And no one has a right to you don't sexually assault someone. Pedophiles, I don't care what happens to pedophiles. you know. But otherwise, you don't own your wife and you don't own your husband. They are not your property. Okay, beside the S&M thing, the S&M community, I'm sorry, you still do not have a right to mistreat your other half, especially when they say no or they cry out the safe word. Either way. So if you have been through this, dear viewer, I can also relate to you. I've been through the ringer myself. I was hurt even as a child. And when I was supposed to be protected by an adult, I wasn't. And I'm not going to get into my story. But those who have been through that can relate to Sedna. Can have empathy for her. She can have empathy for you. But know that she can be very volatile. And of course she can be mistrustful. And of course she can be emotionally hurt and feel neglected. So, dear one, if you have been sold out by your parent, you've been sold out by your mate, you have something in common with Sedna, the mother of the sea, the lady of the ocean. So she deals with the icy ocean too, but if you live somewhere near the coast, whether it's in the tropics, you can still honor Sedna. You can still respect the ocean. You can still give offering to her. Adlivun, which is located, it's the land of the spirits, which the spirits are supposed to stay for about like a year when they die and then move on. Her father, and Sedna, of course, her father lives there now. So it's sort of like they have an understanding, and even some stories made up. But she was still hurt. So Sedna has different names depending on the different areas and different meanings. Like, she's called Sasuma Orna, if memory serves me correctly. Yeah, Sasuma Orna. Mother of the Deep. She is also known as the Big Bad Woman, or Kapvaluk. So she has different names. She's also referred to as the old woman who lives in the sea. So, depending, and the stories are, a little bit different, but always the same theme: betrayal, abuse, neglect, and hurt. So those who are Pisces can definitely relate to her in emotions, in especially with the astrological sign Pisces. If you're a Pisces rising, like me, or if you're a sun sign Pisces or a moon sign Pisces, you may definitely think about connecting with her. She may not be the most approachable one, especially if this is someone new to you, but definitely she's still today honored by the Inuit, who especially have not been Christianized. But I think even some of the Christianized Inuit still respect her, at least their stories, and at least I hope so. So, depending on her mood and depending on how you treat her, if you're good and if she's ready, she'll provide. If you're bad and she's angry, she will withhold. So, yeah, to this day, the Inuits still rely on the ocean. I mean, parts of Alaska, I mean, it's still the wild frontier in some places. So it's not like you can just walk out and go, across the street to your grocery store, or just travel a half a mile to your doctor, or take a bus to go to the shopping mall. Oh, no, no, no. No, no, no. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks for things to come to your area. And so you rely on the fishing and the hunting. And, some things are just done by tradition. And I'm not talking about a bunch of assholes clubbing seals in the head and leaving them to lie there in pain while they skin them alive. No. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about a bunch of assholes just hunting for trophy hunting or for fun and leaving the animal to rot and over hunting to extinction or to endangerment. We're talking about fishing to live. And we're talking about it's either you fish or you die. So, but they all must respect the lady. And from what I understand is that, still some things are like, still some whales are hunted and seal and polar bears. And I know some people, I don't hunt, so I don't even fish. I don't know if I can ever hunt. And I never did. That's just not for me. But anyway, anywho, what are things that you can offer to Sedna to do? Some of our offerings would definitely be if you go to the beach in her name, clean up the garbage. If you're out in a boat and you see some garbage in the sea, to clean it up. But definitely, I'm not telling you to go touch, broken glass or hyper, if you see hypodermic needles, I'm not telling you to go touch them. Let the people who are trained to do that. Be careful. I don't want you to get some illness or get sick from touching it or get cut and end up in the emergency room. If you go to the beach, just be mindful. Pick up after you leave. Don't leave your trash around. Don't go around one of these people, ooh, I love the earth, ooh, I hate pollution, and go out and have a party and then leave beer bottles all over. Okay, so clean up. Be mindful. You can also give to donations that help clean up the ocean. And maybe you can start a little group, get together like once a month and help clean up, the coastline. Other things, you can, make an altar to her, have the colors of blues, deep blues, because she likes the deeper parts of the ocean and really deep, so it's really dark. So maybe some dark blues, give her some shells, give her images of fish and polar bears and dolphins and whales. Oh God, I don't know if you can hear him purr. The Joker's right next to me and he's asleep. He's using my leg as a pillow and he's just dead asleep and purring. I got distracted. So, anyway, seashells, starfish shells, things to offer her is seafood. Sushi is a good idea. I mean, I like sushi. Sashimi. I know that's Japanese. I know we're talking about modern times. You can have maybe like a mermaid doll and then brush its hair for her. Have a little, once in a while brush her hair out and just do as an offering to her. You can sing her songs and if you meditate, you can meditate just massaging her and telling how much you appreciate her. Give her what you can of like seafood. Great offering. So when you think about her colors, definitely blues, dark blues. Also think of icy blues. So, also another thing that people do is when, if you can, is not only if you fish, give her the liver, if you know what the liver looks like. Otherwise, sometimes people will take the fish, some of the fish, and throw it back with the water, and they give it to a Sedna for good luck, for good fishings, because of her, she provides good luck. She provides smooth sailing. She provides blessings, prosperity. You know, she can provide money in that way. People now hunt for a living, and they sell that fish. So she provides a good bounty. She provides life, but she can also be the giver of death, and just you remember that. Sedna is prone to fits of anger and depression. Also remember that too. So when you do rituals to her, just in your meditations, just brush out her hair. Tell her how beautiful she is. Tell her you appreciate her. So in witchcraft and Wicca, the West represents the element of water. And I'm not saying that Inuits, I'm sure there are Inuit Wiccans and witches, so, but again, it's their own spirituality. But I'm not Inuit, but for her, I would face west, or at least face towards the ocean. So if you're near the beach, face towards the beach. Great time to call her is the full moon. Is a wonderful time. Know that Sedna and her water can purify you. Sedna can be a very demanding goddess, remember that. So, she represents the deep within yourself as well, and your consciousness, in your mind. She represents your deep unconscious or the subconscious, your emotions, your inner rage, your inner anger, your inner storms. But she also represents that peace. Know that Sedna can be as cruel and yet as giving as the sea. And that she demands that her domain, and that she and the creatures of that domain deserve respect. She can definitely challenge you to embrace your inner self and to embrace the aspects of yourself, that you would normally ignore. That inner child that has been mistreated. Your soul that needs, part of your soul, your spirit, that needs to be soothed. She can help you face those aspects that you dread to face, like envy, jealousy, depression, sadness, rage. And those who are bipolar would know about mania and then falling into depression and going back up and just like, in some ways we'll say a roller coaster, but here we'll say like the tidal waves. You can see your inner self as, I'm not just talking about bipolar people. I'm not bipolar, but I've known people who are bipolar. You can see those emotions as terrible waves in a terrible storm. And you can visualize yourself, soothing your inner Sedna, and calming those waves. And giving an offering to yourself and respecting yourself. But also giving an offering to her and respecting yourself. Or respecting her. Remember when Aleister Crowley said, "There are no part of me that is not of the gods." Aleister Crowley. So we have our inner Sedna to honor, as well as the outer. Sedna's themes are definitely abundance, nature, and gratitude, but also her shadow self is definitely victimhood, mistreatment, abandonment, and again, sadness, depression, even dealing sometimes with that bipolar energy. No disrespect to her. None at all. When you consume seafood, fish, sushi, sashimi, I don't know, grilled salmon, or that fish sandwich at McDonald's, you can remember to honor Sedna for that food, that life-giving food to her, from her to you. She represents our power of our intuition and subconscious, and our unconscious, our deep dream, our dreams, our dreamland. She challenges us to have compassion for others, ourselves, and for the sea, and for the sea creatures. So there are different stories about the different, sometimes she has children, sometimes it's just more of what came out of her fingers. I'm just going to tell you the stories that I've known, that I've heard. I mean, there's different stories, and I'm not sure if some of them are correct. So I'm not going to name them all, because some of them could be wrong. And again, I don't want to give out wrong information or be offensive to the Inuit culture, the Inuit people. So remember to reduce, reuse, and recycle, because some of these things, even after we recycle eventually, may not be recyclable anymore. But remember, some of the things that you throw out can end up in the trash, can end up in the sea. So if you can recycle, some places don't have a place to recycle. Some places, buildings have stopped it. So you can do what you can do. Think about when you draw a straw, that sometimes it ends up in the nose of an animal. Like I've seen a sea turtle with a straw always shoved up its nose through its nasal cavity, and it was very painful to even watch this poor animal suffer and even get the straw out. Then you see this poor little animal suffering and bleeding, and it's very sad to see. When you draw out those, those plastic rings that hold your bottles of sodas together or cans of soda, remember to cut them, because they can end up around an animal's neck and choke them. Just be mindful. Cut the little straws up in pieces, or cut those rings up. Just remember, sometimes they can end up on an animal and hurt them or kill them. So thank you very much for watching this video. I really appreciate you. And I want to hear what your thoughts are on Sedna. Hit me up on the comments. If you like my video, please give me a like and subscribe. If you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down. If you really like it, give me a thumbs up and subscribe so that my channel grows and I know that I'm doing a good job. I do not have a Patreon account, but think about giving to places like organizations like Greenpeace or WWF, World Wildlife Foundation, and other organizations that help with the animals and nature. And I remember watching the Weather Channel, and there was this organization that would take plastic out of the sea and actually make really cool things out of plastic, like jewelry and stuff, and you can buy it from them so that they can pay people to help get more of the plastic out of the sea and make one of these beautiful pieces of jewelry that you can have. I do not have a Patreon account, so give your money to those organizations. And there's a thing about in Miami about don't trash our treasures, and it deals with different parts of Florida where people think don't throw your pollution in their waters and to clean up. So just be mindful. So if you're at the beach and you see like a dolphin that is beached and you see someone abusing it, call the police immediately and videotape them and video them and expose them. And also, if you do see a beach well, call the authorities and have them help, keep that animal alive, keep water on them, but don't like drown them, but like if it's a shark, just be careful that you don't get your hurt, because sometimes sharks get beached. So just be mindful. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Be good to yourself, be awesome to others, and as always, blessed be. Oh, and by the way, this is like a new phone, so I'm sure the quality is going to be a lot better. So, blessed be, folks.